Right. Who wants a banana? Hey, lots of people. I think you were there. Right, can you catch? Yeah. Right, I've never killed anybody doing this yet. Hey! Who else? Yeah. Hey! Who else? Alright, we're going to go for a long one. Hey! 3 out of 3. Right. Bananas. Fantastic. Yellow. You all love the colour yellow. Fantastic source of phosphorus as well. Right. Tell me, how many of you do biology or did biology first year? Okay. Yeah. Have you had Gary Foster yet? What year are you, sorry? You've had Gary Foster?
Yes, I'm second year now.
Yeah. When he walked in, did he throw sweet potatoes at you?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember it was in the first lecture, but he did.
Yeah. So, this Irish guy, well funny, he walks in, much like I do, threw sweet potatoes at us. He was talking about plant viruses, the most random subject in the world. Not interesting, but random, so we're all like, whoa. So he throws these sweet potatoes at us, and that immediately grabbed our attention. We think, hey, what's he going to do? Now, I went to Australia a few years ago. I'll just tell you a bit more about bananas first. Bananas are a funny thing. As soon as they fruit, they die. Break a tree up here, fruits and they die. It's like bamboo. Now, I was doing Australia once. I was visiting some family up there. And we were up in the northeast, and we were wandering around, driving around. And as far as the eye could see, there's banana plants, banana trees. Has anybody ever been to Australia? Yeah? It's too often, though. But yeah, these banana plants as far as the eye could see. And the funny thing is, they all died as soon as they fruited. Anyway, now, what did I just do there? I immediately grabbed your attention by throwing bananas at you. Keep you thinking, keep you on your toes. I asked a question, to which you had to then think of an answer. I also told a story, which means you learned a bit about me, which means I'm not so much as a stranger to you, which means we're all more friendly. It's like, and it's a darn sight easier, as I said last week, to speak to a bunch of friends than strangers. Now, when you open a speech, when you start a speech, you want to grab the reader's attention. Grab the reader's attention. Grab the listener's attention. However you want to do that. Common ways are the ways I've just said. When you are giving your speech, you can do these techniques. You can ask the audience a question. Keep them on the toes. You can just raise a show of hands. Tell them a story, which like Sonam did last week. Told a story, which means hers was quite a somber story, where you connected on a personal level. Alex, who isn't here this week, he just told a story to laugh at. Me, well, I don't know what my story was about. But when you are writing a speech, giving a speech, it's all about connecting with the audience. Now, hands up who's wrote an essay. Everybody. Everybody? Yes. Now, do you all remember back in primary school, junior school, high school, being told how to write an essay? Yeah. I'm sure you write an essay on a daily basis. Basically, the same rules apply for writing a speech. You have to have your beginning, your middle, and end. You've got to do all the discussions, the introductions, the conclusions, and most of all, you've got to grab the reader's attention, the listener's attention, else they're just going to drift off. We had a, what's his name, professor of speaking course in London Lights come in last year. I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name? That's Atkinson. Absolutely fantastic guy, really interesting. And he dedicated his life to speaking, well, the science of speaking. And one thing that he found is when you're giving a lecture, it's different to just a conversation. In a conversation, there's two of you. Now, when you're speaking in a conversation, as soon as the other person finishes speaking, you then reply. And he reckons it's because of fear. Fear that you're going to have to say something. Whereas in a lecture, you can just sit there, you can go to sleep, you can doodle a bit, you can write to your friend. It doesn't matter, because the fear isn't there. The fear of not having to speak. That means you drift. So you want to grab their attention by throwing bananas at them. asking questions or connecting. Now, back to this essay, back to this speech. When you give a speech, you want to have a fundamental phrase, foundational phrase. Now this phrase is roughly 10 words. It doesn't have to be, it's slightly more, slightly less. But these 10 words get your message across. Things like, I have a dream, Martin Luther King. I have no idea what the rest of the speech is, but that one phrase, I have a dream, it says what he wants, and then the rest of the speech is just what he's dreaming. This foundational phrase you want to repeat. You want to say it right at the start, then you want to say it in the middle, and then you want to end with it. You want to make sure that the people, the audience, remembers this, because that is, in essence, the speech. Now, I'm just going to run through all the, very, very quickly, the basics of an essay or a speech. So you're beginning, you want to introduce yourself. You want to bring people up to speed. If you're talking about bananas, you want to just make sure everybody knows what a banana is. And then you just give your foundational phrase. There's so many different words in that. Now this foundational phrase, say it, and say it again, and say it again. Then in the middle, you have your discussion. If it's just a lecture, then you have an argument if it's an argumentative speech. Or you just give information if it's a lecture, much as what I'm doing now. Then in the end, you want to wrap it up. You want to say your phrase again, and you want to summarise what you've said in the main part of the essay. But most of all, you want, in the essay, in this speech, now, most of all, you want this speech to flow, because you're speaking it. Each section must run into each other, and the flow should come natural to most people. When you're writing a speech, what I suggest that you do is you start with, what do I want to write a speech about? Bananas. Okay. You then write bananas. And then you brainstorm your ideas about bananas. Just a few things what you want to say. So I want to say, talk about where it grows, talk about the economics of it, blah, blah, blah. And then you just add more meat to the speech, to the points that you're saying. Now, everybody writes a speech differently. The key thing is to find a way that you like. This is just an idea. Once you've got your speech, you can write it out in full. You can memorise it. You could just have a few pointers on a few flashcards you just hold up, or you can just have a list of embarrassingly scribbled notes, which I have at the moment, because I have so many speeches to give. And then, once you've done that, you want to practice the speech, practice it again, and then practice again, and then give it. Then at the end, you wait for an applause. Just quickly, because I'm a bit quick. Any questions? Anything about bananas? No? Okay. So we are going to go on to the first game.